All right, let's dive in. Today, we are tackling a cornerstone of JavaScript, the array. We're going to see how it takes your code from cluttered and messy to a clean, powerful collection of data. So, have you ever found yourself trying to manage a list of items in your code? Like a list of users, things in a shopping cart, or even just a simple to-do list? It's one of the first things you run into as a programmer. The first thing you might think to do is just create a new variable for every single item. And yeah, for 2 or 3 things, that might seem okay, but what happens when you have 100 items or 1,000? It becomes a complete nightmare. It's just a total mess. And this is what I like to call the problem of many. It's clunky, it's hard to keep track of, and it just doesn't scale at all. There has to be a better way, right? So what if, instead of trying to juggle all those loose variables, you could just pop everything into one neat, organized box? Well, say hello to the hero of our story, the JavaScript array. This is the solution to our clutter problem. The idea here is actually super simple, but it's incredibly powerful. An array is basically just a special kind of variable that's designed to hold a whole bunch of values. It's a collection, a list, a container, all rolled into one. Okay, so how do we actually make one of these? Well, you could use the new array constructor, but honestly, nobody really does that anymore. The modern standard way, the way you'll see pretty much everywhere, is using these simple square brackets. It's cleaner, easier to read, and it's just the way to go. Okay, we've got our stuff in the box, but how do we get something out or maybe change what's inside? This is where a cool little concept called indexing comes into play. And here is the absolute #1 rule you have to remember. JavaScript arrays are 0 indexed. That means the first item is at index 0, the second is at 1, and so on. It can feel a little weird at first, but you'll get used to it. That's exactly why fruits of 0 gives us apple. And changing an item, it's just as easy. You just target the index, so index 1 for banana, and assign a new value, like orange. Boom, the array is instantly updated. But what if you want to know how many things are in your list without having to count them by hand? Well, every single array comes with a handy little .length property. For our fruits array, fruits.length just gives you the number, 3. Simple as that. But arrays are way more than just storage containers. They actually come with a whole toolkit of built-in functions. We call them methods that make it super easy to manage all the items inside. So let's look at 4 of the most common ones. Think of push and pop as working on the end of your list. You push something on, you pop something off. Easy. Their cousins, unshift and shift, do the exact same thing, but at the beginning of the list. And hey, a little pro tip for you, push and pop are usually a bit faster, because when you add or remove from the start, JavaScript has to renumber all the other indexes, which can take a bit more work. Okay, but what if you want to do something to every single item in the array? That's where loops come in. A classic for loop might look a little scary, but it's really just a simple recipe. Step 1, you create a counter I and start it at 0. Step 2, you tell it to keep going as long as I is less than the array's length. Step 3, you do your thing, like printing the item. And step 4, you add 1 to I and do it all over again for the next item. That's it. It just repeats until it's gone through the whole list. All right, enough theory. Let's see this stuff in action with a real example. So here we have an array of numbers. If we ask the code for numbers 2, what are we going to get? Well, let's remember our big rule, 0 indexing. So index 0 is 10, index 1 is 20, which means index 2 has to be 30. And there's our output. Now, let's grab one of those tools from our toolkit. We'll call .push50. Remember what push does? It adds something to the end of the array. So when we look at the array again, yep, there it is. 50 is tacked right on at the end. So if we boil this all down to one key idea, what is it? It's this. An array in JavaScript is just a data structure for storing a bunch of values in one variable, and you use those index positions to get to them. If you remember that, you've got the core concept down. And there you have it. You now have the absolute fundamental tool for wrangling less of data in JavaScript. Seriously, from building a simple to-do list to creating complex data visualizations, arrays are everywhere. They are the backbone of so much of what we do. So the only question left is, what cool thing are you going to build with them?